Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Untranslatable podcast. Today we are focusing on American foreign language instruction. Jared's got the police coming after him, it sounds like. We are here today to discuss, more specifically, why you maybe can't speak a foreign language very proficiently after 4 years of a language, which I think is unfortunately the case for many people. But before we get into it, I want to welcome my amazing co-host, Jared. What's going on, buddy?
Hello. Perfect timing. As soon as we hit play, the fire truck goes by. Not the cops this time. They came last night. If you want to follow us and hear more fun quips like that, follow us on Twitter at Untranslatable1. Or you can follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Chad and I are always posting fun new things. Or you can email us at the untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us stuff, untranslatables, travel stories, travel tips, travel gear. Hello.
Anything travel related, basically.
Or, I never say this, but I should. You could also rate only 5 stars, though. That's the only thing they allow you to do these days. It's so weird. But I mean, what else would you give anyway? 5 star, say some nice things. You don't even have to say nice things. You could also just give the 5 stars. But either way would be nice. Thanks.
Most definitely.
So, hey, Chad, I was walking down the street the other day, speaking of Instagram, and I saw this cafe that I've honestly lived in the area for years and walked by probably hundreds of times. But this one time, maybe because I finally started opening my ears, I think is the proper term. Excuse me, I think the proper term is eyes. And
yes, true.
But ears as well. Wow. I noticed this French saying in this cafe, and I was like, huh. And I was like, I'm not a French expert, but I'm curious what that says. And I was like, I believe I know what some of those words mean, and they don't seem like nice words. So the phrase was, va te faire enculer dans le cul.
Okay, wait, isn't couler butt or ass? No?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Ooh, all right.
You actually commented on it, and you said, I don't know what that is, but it sounds beautiful. And I was like,
right.
Yeah, wow. I was like, I don't know if you're serious right now, but
there was a little bit of sarcasm in there, but it's hard to
My sister actually just commented on it, and she's like, and she speaks French, and she's like, clutch its pearls. But what it translates to is fuck you in the ass, or go fuck yourself in the ass.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, huh, that's an interesting thing to have written in your restaurant. And the funny thing is, it's like, I'm sure most people don't even notice it, or if they do, have no idea what it says and say something like you, like, oh, wow, lovely.
Right? Look at that French.
It's a French
They're so
cafe.
cultured, right?
And I thought that
I've
was
seen
hilarious,
that.
and I have so many questions that I didn't ask.
Right? Oh, my God, that is so funny. You ought to walk into that cafe sometime and be like, do you guys actually know what that says?
I wanted to ask, but I walked by at closing time. Like, I walked by as they were locking the door. And I wasn't gonna knock on the door. But hey,
hey guys, wait!
Unlock that real quick. Do you know your window has a bunch of swear words in it, don't you?
Oh, that's too funny.
But I do like the irony too. First of all, it's perfect for our episode today on people in America not being able to learn another language, because it's just interesting that first of all, I kind of know the language and I never noticed it. How many people walk past that and have no idea what it says? And then the odd actual French person that's there on vacation's like, wait, what's up with this restaurant? And the person's like, what are you talking about? It's a great place. You've never been to One Shot? It's great.
Right. Is this a swingers club / restaurant? What is this? Like, yeah. Oh, that's great.
It says it says everyone is welcome inside in French. What are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah, inside of your ass.
You know what's funny though is I feel like there's kind of a similar thing here with English in a lot of places in Europe and in Asia where they'll put stuff in English to make it cool or in this case French to make it seem more cultured, right?
Right.
And I've seen so many students at my school that have shirts like, I don't give a fuck, but the U is like an X, right? So it technically doesn't say it.
Yes.
You know, but here, like the school dress code rules are way different than in the States, and I feel like because English isn't the first language here, you can get away with a lot of stuff. It's kind of like the same thing when you see pictures of people from China or Asia with like hilarious like sayings on their shirt.
Yeah.
And they probably bought it just because it's English and they think it's cool. I saw this hilarious shirt one time. It was this old Asian woman, and it said something like
Slipping on gator piss. Something like that.
Maybe something like that. Or it was something like I think it was like it said like gangster bitch or ghetto bitch or something like that. It was this like old Chinese woman. It was hilarious.
That's funny. I had a friend in Germany. He had a couple shirts from a company called FCUK, FCUK, and it was French Connection UK, and it was the name of the company. And so they had a bunch of shirts that had like FCUK written on it. And he was not. He actually was. They asked him not to wear those shirts to school.
Really?
But I went to an international school, so it was a little different.
Okay, that's true. That's true. What I need to start doing now is like when I find funny English stuff around here, I need to start taking pictures of it because I've been thinking about that.
What kind of stuff? Have you seen stuff?
Oh yeah, I've seen some like
cool vibes.
I bought this at H&M here actually. Yeah.
Oh, that shirt?
Yeah.
You wear that shirt
cool
almost
vibes.
every time I see you.
I do. It's my hangout in the
By the way, it
apartment
says
shirt.
laid back vibes, not cool vibes.
It does.
For the
I think on the back of it does say cool vibes though.
Does it really? Wow, that shirt's really putting out a lot of vibes.
That's right, dude. It's a vibe. What can I say? Oh man, but no, I saw a shirt the other day by this guy walking by that literally his shirt said road sign. I kid you not, road sign. And then like the number 65 below it. And I'm like,
sign?
Yeah, I'm like the text on the shirt, like it looked cool, but like me reading that as an English speaker, I'm like, what?
Why is there a road sign that's telling you it's a road sign?
Right. Yeah. So it's like random stuff like that.
It's kind of ironic though, if you think about it.
Oh, for sure. And
but I don't think they're thinking about it on that level.
No, I doubt it. They just see it and it's a t-shirt and probably think it's cool.
Right.
But what's really funny is I was on a couple Czech guitar websites, and as you know, and probably hopefully most of our listeners know, one of the great things about Google Chrome is it will automatically translate for you, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I was looking to find like a big package of guitar picks, and I had it in Czech, and then I translated it. And it translated the word for plectrum as pussy.
Plectrum?
Yeah. Pick.
Okay.
Plectrum. I'll have to post that on our Instagram page because that's just hilarious.
Yeah. Wait, is that what you call a pick, a plectrum?
Yeah, that's another word for it.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Guitar pick, plectrum.
I've never heard plectrum before, but I'm not in, you're in the crowd.
Right.
Do you ever go on guitar forums?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
I'm kind of new to forums ever since I started my job at 3 years I guess, but since I started my job at the car place, I've started looking at them more, and they're a wealth of knowledge, and it's like, wow, there are nerds on every topic that you could think of.
Oh, 100%. I honestly, man, I cannot imagine living in a world without the internet now.
Oh, for sure.
We are so lucky.
Oh yeah.
The funny thing is though, I was reading an article a couple months back, and this one woman had gotten hired at this job, and she was a little over her head, and she said for a lot of, I think it was like graphic design or something, and she did a lot of Googling to figure out her problems. And one of her older colleagues, our parents' generation, so like a baby boomer, complimented her on her skills of being able to like. To us, to a lot of millennials, I think we really take the skill for granted, but she was so proficient at being able to find the information she needed online at a quick rate that I think a lot of older people can't always do. Like,
oh yeah,
my dad always asks me to Google shit for him because he knows I'm going to be able to find it way faster than him.
I've actually noticed that a lot of my job too, because as I mentioned, I do a lot of car stuff and I do a lot of the research stuff. So, like, people will come to me asking me a car-related question, and, like, I'll have, like, especially if it's through email, I'll have it back to what seems like immediately. And they're like, how'd you figure that out so quickly? And really, in my head, it's super simple. But I'm not going to tell that to, like, my bosses. I'm going to be like, oh, I just know where to look. Right. I'm not going to tell them, listen, anyone could do this.
Right. Oh, for sure.
I'm just better at Google than you is really all it takes.
Exactly. But it's a really important skill that I think a lot of people, like I said, really take for granted and don't realize. People don't get how important it is to be able to sift through and filter through all the information we have online. I've had some colleagues at my school ask me, oh, can you find this or do that for me? And a lot of times I can find a really decent pre-made lesson plan or a lesson plan I can modify within 2 or 3 minutes and then send it to them. And they're like, oh my God, how did you do that?
They think you just made it or something?
It's the same like you said. Well, no, I mean, usually I tell them, I found it here or something like that.
A little unethical.
Right. Taking credit where credit is due.
This is mine. I just whipped it up real quick. This is nothing.
I just created a website in 20 seconds with all these teaching materials.
Oh, man.
I also, though, have the bad habit of I'll Google something and I'll open like 10 tabs.
Oh,
do you ever do that?
My work computer is open right now. We can go through how many tabs I have open. I have one window of Google Chrome that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's just one window. Then I have another window that's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I have a third one, which is mainly used for podcast work, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. I'm a little bummed your podcast work isn't like 20 tabs.
Well, also, I don't
do
that much podcast work on my work computer. Usually I do that at home. But every now and again, if I find a website, I'll save it there and hold it there for a second.
Oh, nice.
And honestly, as I look through it, I could probably close like five of those tabs, to be fair. So
that's also such a relief when you close all those tabs.
Oh, yeah. Every now and again, I'll like restart my computer or something like that and just start fresh. And it's like, Although every now and again, kind of like a drug. This is ridiculous, but no joke, like a drug sometimes. I'll have to go to Google Chrome and do like reopen, past 9 tabs or whatever. And it's just like, all right, I'm back. Everything's back. I didn't lose anything like the sort of fucking hoarder.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, my tabs.
I can't imagine like trying to use a computer and not being able to have all those tabs open.
Oh, I know. It'd
be so weird.
It's just also it's just the very nature of it with my job as a research person. I'm constantly like looking at a bunch of different stuff and being like, oh, reading this makes me think of something that I want to like. So I'll at least just like type it into another tab to be like, I want to make sure I look that up. And next thing I know, it's like, oh, I forgot I went to look up industrial refrigerators an hour ago. Right. I've never looked up industrial refrigerators.
You can go down some pretty crazy rabbit holes too.
Oh yeah, it's like a YouTube rabbit hole, just nerdier, more focused.
Right, for sure. And I would I don't mean to toot our horns, but I'd say we're both nerds in our own respective rights.
I'll toot our literal horns.
There we go. Nice.
So Chad, for the listeners. Your birthday has passed. You're now a year older. But to you and I, your birthday's tomorrow. And from what I've heard, you're going to Prague this weekend.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing in Prague?
Going back to that secret bar for sure.
Right.
And gonna maybe do a little impromptu jam sesh.
Are you taking someone with you?
I'm going with meeting up with a bunch of my other English teacher friends. One my buddy David, who I've mentioned numerous times on this pod already.
Yeah.
He'll be making an appearance, so that'll be a good time.
I'll be making an appearance. I don't even know the dude, but I just picture someone showing up waving like, hello. Oh, thank you. Chad, happy birthday. All right. See you next year.
Right.
That cost me $13,000, and it was totally worth it.
Does he have a tuxedo and a monocle on? Because he should.
That's up to him. I don't know how you prefer David to come. You're paying him $13,000. I guess that's up to you.
That's true.
You tell me.
That's right.
Sounds like that's what you would like.
I mean, why not? It'd be pretty swag to be escorting somebody with a monocle and a tuxedo on. But yeah, so I'm not really sure. We've left it kind of open because I'm actually celebrating. I'm co-celebrating my B-Day with another English teacher named John.
Oh right, he's turning 30.
Yeah, so the big 3-0. So shout out to John. Yeah, it'll be a fun time. I'm excited.
Okay.
But my colleagues, I think my colleagues have at the school, they were like, "Oh yeah, what are your plans for this weekend?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm going back to Prague," and they were like, "Weren't you just there last weekend?" So like, I feel a little guilty, but
hey,
you're
a young man. Live your life. Don't fuck them. It's like, hey, just because you have to go back to your boring husband and wife doesn't mean I have to. I'm a young man, and I like to enjoy the world.
Right,
the world
sure.
meaning a city that's 2 hours away but more fun. So you're good friends with this. Can I call him David, even though it's just David?
Sure, you can call him whatever you like.
You're good friends with David. How much do you know about these other? I mean, you've met him before, but some of these other teachers, more just acquaintances, more just people you've met before.
I would say we're on the friend end of acquaintance.
Wow.
I don't know.
I my new book, Friend End of Acquaintance.
Right, coming out in 2019. But I mean, yeah, I really like them all. I would just say out of all of them, I know David the best and have spent the most time with him. A lot of the other people, I've hung out with them at our orientations, but it's only been at our orientations. So I don't know. They're all really nice. I like them a lot, but yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. It's a weird line between friend and acquaintance, and I'm not really sure if I even know where my boundaries would be, where someone's just an acquaintance or a friend.
Right. Okay, that's kind of I'd be curious to get some intel on how these are all Americans.
Yes,
I'd be interested to get intel on how some of these other people are adapting to their various small towns in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll do a little doodle poll, a little survey.
They're all at least. I mean, you'd have to assume that they're all at least got an interest for travel and that thing. If they're a language teacher, because you have to study abroad to do that. You gotta like other countries theoretically.
I can tell you out of
the
right. I can tell you out of a lot of them, a few of them have actually studied abroad in the Czech Republic. A few
so they
of
have
them
some proficiency.
Yeah. A few of them have studied abroad in the Czech Republic. Some of them have studied abroad in other places. I think there's only a few in my entire cohort that have not really spent very much time abroad. So yeah, I think a whole part of being an English teacher abroad is you have to embrace other cultures and travel. And ideally also language learning, for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're a language teacher, I guess you have to be a fan of language learning.
Right. I will say this, though, about the friends and acquaintances. I'm sure after this weekend, I will consider them all friends, I would imagine.
Oh, that's beautiful, Chad. Chad's going to be slipping on gator piss. He's not even going to remember any of his time there. He's really
Yeah, we'll see. Especially because the secret bar is pay as you wish, so that can get dangerous.
Is it really?
Real quick? Yes.
So see, you know why that gets dangerous is one, it's because you it's easier for you not to keep track in the moment of how much you're drinking. You know what I mean?
Well, they have like a whiteboard, and you put your name,
but there's
and you write a tally.
There's no direct. You're not doing math in your head. I would go in. So what would you say if you're there if you had, let's say, 5 drinks and you were there for 2 hours?
5 drinks and I was there for 2 hours.
In American dollars, how much would you put down? Or crowns, or you give us crowns.
First, I gotta think of it in crowns, and then I'll try to convert it.
Think of it in crowns because that's what you're actually going to be paying.
So, let me tell you. So, Chomutov prices would be about 30, maximum 32 crowns a beer, probably.
Okay.
Prague can be anywhere from 40 to 60. Some places, if you really go to a very touristy place, they may even charge you 100 crowns, which is about $4.50. Which still for American standards is very cheap.
Yeah.
But so if I had 5 beers, I would say I would probably spend, because I like the guy who owns it. It's a nice place.
And you want to go back at some other point, probably.
Exactly. Most definitely. So I would probably give them, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 crowns a beer. If that's appropriate. I mean, I would say for Prague prices, that's good. And then I'd probably give the guy like a decent tip as well.
Yeah. I feel like the tip
guy.
is more important than actually the beer prices.
Right. So if we get 5 beers, we'll
dealing in
just
that
keep
sort
it
of,
easy. 5 beers at 50 crowns, 250 crowns.
Okay.
So that's like, I don't know, $11, somewhere around there.
Okay. I'd round it out to 300 if maybe.
With the tip, maybe 300, maybe even 350. Give him a 100-crown tip for having such a sweet establishment.
Is there security?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, it's super low key. I mean, unless you know the guy who owns it, you're not going to be able to find it. You're not going to know where it is.
Chad, you're so fucking cool, aren't you, huh?
I try my best. I try my best.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And no, you're the only one that's been to that spot of this group. So you're
yes, sir.
You're also, that means you have to vouch for these people. What if someone embarrasses you?
Well, then I gotta apologize. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like they
boost that up to 400, 500 crowns.
Right. Just slip him a 1,000-crown bill and just be like, all right, I'll come by myself.
Not coming back next time. Don't worry.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about him.
No, I know. He's the only one I know by name, though. That's why I had to.
I got to be honest, though. I have gone out with some of these other English teachers before, and so far, knock on wood, they've all held it together pretty well.
You got to think, though, because they are, once again, people that have traveled a bit, and a lot of them know that Americans tend to be louder, and I feel like if you're a language teacher / travel person, you'd be aware of these things. So it's a self-selecting group of non-obnoxious people.
I agree, but the more you drink, the worse
That's
your
true.
awareness gets.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll have an update for you for our next
once
episode.
You're
flipping on gator piss.
Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows?
Exactly. But yeah, so it'll be fun. Looking forward to Prague again. It's just such a cool city, man. I mean, I kind of consider it like a mini Vienna, maybe. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because it's not as big as Vienna. It doesn't have as many people, or at least I shouldn't be saying this if I don't actually know the facts. Hold up.
I believe that Vienna's bigger than Prague, but I also feel like, I don't know anything about Prague really, but I always had the picture in my head that the quote-unquote city area of Prague was bigger than Vienna. I don't know, and once again, that's based off of nothing. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that was always kind of my vision. My vision was always like, well, of course, the city of Vienna is bigger, but there's a lot of Vienna that's just like neighborhoods and the actual city part is pretty small.
But that's the same in Prague as well.
Right. I mean, I guess that's the same in any major city.
And actually, population-wise, Vienna's only got about... So Vienna, the population is 1.76 million, and Prague is 1.2 million.
Okay. I mean, that's a difference, you know. When you say it like that, it doesn't sound like much. But when you say it's 400,000 people, I feel like it sounds like a good bit.
Yeah, that's a good amount. Yeah, for sure. But it's cool. And the nice thing about Prague, too, is there's just it's very metropolitan. So you get to meet people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. You know, obviously in Chomutov, I know one guy from Canada.
Oh, yeah. Professional hockey player.
Yep,
Steven
and
Erickson.
that's it. Where do you come up with these names?
I don't know. You just make them names. It's kind of a fun game to have, too, because, like, if someone tries to make you think of a name on the spot, it's surprisingly difficult to, like, make up a name on the spot.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear about it. Happy pre-birthday.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Although in Germany or the Czech Republic, I'm pretty sure culturally you're not supposed to congratulate someone on their birthday before their birthday. But since we're Americans, I'll let it slide, and I appreciate it, buddy.
So essentially, what you're saying is the next episode is going to be just me being like, "Chad's dead."
Yep, join the 27 club.
Apparently he's right. I feel like I feel like there was a point in your life, and this is gonna sound weird, that you kind of fantasized about being in the 27 club.
Me? You think me personally?
Young 12-year-old Chad thinking he could be a rocker. It's like, I'm going to be so good.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I also like the idea of being I would rather be one of those super old rockers like the Rolling Stones.
Right.
Or,
Or it's like, how is he still alive?
Exactly.
But he looks like he's 40, but his skin also looks like it's about to explode off his face. Like Steven Tyler or something like that.
Exactly. I was thinking Keith Richards, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, Keith Richards looks like he's led a much rougher life.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure he has. No doubt. No doubt, for sure. But yeah. No, I'm hoping the only 27 club I'll be in is 27-year-old hoping to become a better polyglot.
Wow, that's beautiful, Chad. That is beautiful. I hope for that too. What can I say? A young boy can dream. That's what the Untranslatable podcast is for.
For sure. Also, join the 27 club of having an awesome podcast with my amazing co-host. Can't go wrong.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, am not 27. I'm younger than you.
Yep. I got a little bit more wisdom on you. Well, I don't know if it's wisdom, but it's time.
Yeah. I prefer. Yeah, go ahead. I was about to just go ahead. We'll move on. This is about to get stupid. You and I have to be like, all right, shut the fuck up. Sure.
Fair enough. Well, Jared, another important aspect I think of our podcast is bringing a little positivity and a little light into a very negative and dark world. And one of the best ways we can do this is through some shout-outs. So I have a couple, but I'm wondering, I always do this to you, and I'm apologizing.
No, I don't have any shout-outs, Chad. Well, right. Honestly, sometimes I want to ask you, where do you find these things? Because you always seem to have such heartwarming stories. My news usually does not guide me to heartwarming topics.
If I told
dead
you
in a building fire in Yemen. 3 died in a man on trial for fraud and murder.
I like how you just go to some weird British or I don't even know what accent that is. Well, Jared, if I told you my secret positive news outlets, we'd be given the same shout out.
No,
so I'm not going to tell you.
And I don't want you to. It's less for me, but for all of our competition out there trying to get our podcast secrets.
That's true. Can't give them the formuoli. That's for sure. For sure. Good old SpongeBob references. But yeah. So my first shout out goes out to the tech billionaire Elon Musk. Maybe you've heard of this, Jared.
Yeah.
Shout out is
stepping
not
down from.
And that's not my shout out. My shout out's a lot more positive, I would say.
Okay.
Elon Musk donated $480,000 to bring clean water to Flint schools.
Okay. All right. Good stuff.
You remember me a few episodes back mentioning he had been talking about it, and he was
true.
talking the talk, but wasn't walking the walk. Well,
you had to. I always get a little nervous when Elon Musk comes up.
Why is that?
Not especially in the shout out section. Let me put it that way, because I'm like, this can't be good. Like how is he in the shout out section? But that's actually good.
Well, now you know. So yeah,
that's a good amount of money too.
It is, and so all 12 Flint, Michigan school buildings, and also the school administration headquarters, will have these ultraviolet water filtration systems installed.
Nice.
Which is great because for our listeners out there who aren't from Michigan, Flint hasn't had clean water since 2014 or 2015, something crazy like that?
I mean, that's when it was reported.
Oh, true. So maybe it was
happening for years before that, I believe.
Right.
It's not like it just started when they brought it up.
Yeah.
I grew up in Clarkston, which is like an hour away from Flint. But Clarkston also had money, so I don't think they had that problem.
Right. Yeah, that's
unfortunate. I don't say that I don't say that like it's a good thing. It's sad that water comes down.
No,
to that.
I know,
especially when they're so close to each other.
Oh, for sure.
And most Michigan definitely. Is there's a lake everywhere you look.
Mm-hmm. Or a river or some type of body of water, for sure.
I was walking to this school one day and I fell into this lake. I was like, where'd this come from?
Are you sure it wasn't a pothole? Just a really deep pothole
turned into a lake. Yeah. Wasn't this Maple Street last week?
So my next shout out goes to LA County. They are I didn't even know this was a thing, but they are stopping collecting old juvenile detention fees, which erases about approximately $90 million of families' debts.
Wait, so what do you mean? What is it? What do you say that? What do you mean by taking away their
So there
fees?
there were juvenile detention fees. They were collecting old juvenile detention fees from families.
So parents had to pay for their kid to be in juvie.
Yep.
Wow. You know, that's interesting because I've also heard stories about judges getting paid to put kids into juvie. Mm-hmm. Just imagine that cycle where a judge is getting paid to wrongfully convict someone, and then the family of the person that got wrongfully convicted has to pay for their kid to be in that place.
Oh, for sure, dude. The system's incredibly broken. That's for sure.
Speaking of which, shout out to Brett Kavanaugh, you fuck. For
that's a whole nother story. Oh,
for getting into the Supreme Court.
Unreal. Anyways, one last positive story, which this news article is really vague, so I apologize to all of our listeners out there. But apparently,
the meme only has so much space.
Exactly. No, I have restrained from getting my news from memes, Jared. Thankfully,
that's my favorite phrase. Meme news. That's a new untranslatable.
Right. Who needs fake news when you can have meme news, you know? But this is pretty wild. So apparently U.S. Marshals recover 123 missing children in Michigan County.
Wait, they found 123? How
right
do you find
here
that many people?
Well, no, I think it says, or actually, yeah. So a one-day sweep by several law enforcement agencies in a Michigan county resulted in the recovery of 123 missing children, the U.S. Marshal Service said in a news release. The initiative, called My Safe Kid, MI like Michigan, took place on September 26th in Wayne County. There were 301 files of missing children, and the children recovered were physically located, recovered safely, and interviewed during the operation.
You betcha. 123? That's insane. So was it on just one day they're like, drop everything, we're going to find these goddamn kids? And they were just like, they just got on their horses and went out there? I assume some of them are on horses.
Maybe. I would assume they went on some type of raid, I would think.
And also, it seems like, doesn't that seem like an awfully high number of children to be missing?
Yeah. Oh,
123. What is this, roaming the streets?
No, I'm assuming
Do they live in the sewers?
Somewhere. I have no idea. That's why I said this article is really vague.
I clearly have more questions.
Right. And well, here it says that 3 cases were identified as being possible sex trafficking cases. 1 homeless teen was transported back to the command post. And that's all they say. So the Marshal Service did not say where the children were located. The message to the missing children and their families that we wish to convey is that we will never stop looking for you, the U.S. Marshals said.
I guess now my only question is, then what happens to the kids now? Because if there are this many kids missing, my first thought goes to how many parents were okay with the fact that their kid was missing of those 123. Of course they're
not. I would imagine.
I mean, I'm sure some of them are looking.
Okay.
But how many of them are like either I kicked the person out of the house for some terrible reason, or they ran away, but I'm not going to look for you because you're a piece of shit or something. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the news article doesn't really say, but I think it's great they were able to find these kids, and I hope they're all able to live as normal and as happy lives as one possibly can after something like this happens.
Yeah. Can someone come save me, please?
I'll come save you,
I'd also
Jared.
like to live a happy, fulfilling life. Those are some good shout-outs, Chad. I need to figure out what kind of happy news stories you're reading.
Maybe I'll find a couple shout-outs and send a couple your way that I won't
Small house
use.
fire in the south of New York today. Killing 45.
I think you need to just come up with a fake identity and start doing newscasting in a British accent.
I a couple years ago I tried to make a new Twitter account that no one knew about just so I could tweet ridiculous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I made it, it was connected to my email address, and it notified everyone as soon as I made it. And my buddy Brad's like, "Hey, Jared, did you make a new Twitter account?" And it was before I even started tweeting. I didn't even make a tweet yet.
That's funny.
And I was like,
my God.
I was like, yeah, but forget about it. It's gone.
Didn't realize Twitter was such a snitch. Damn.
I thought I could make some shit in privacy. And then from there on, I was like, how about you just use your own Twitter account?
Right. Or you got to come up with a good burner Gmail address, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, that's too much work. I didn't care
that's
that
true.
much.
That's true.
And it's not
That's fair.
Yeah, I just do my trolling in public now.
Right.
Wendy's, I'm coming after you.
Well, you know a really great way to do some trolling is, Jared.
In foreign languages?
Oh yeah, use some untranslatable phrases.
I like that. That's a good idea. I like where your head's at.
Right.
I actually have a perfect one to start us off. Speaking of which, it's perfect. Hebrew, lasot exit.
Which means?
To do an exit.
To do an exit. Is that to take a crap?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Can you give me one of your world-class examples?
So we're on episode 33 of the Untranslatable podcast. And, episode 33 comes out and a bunch of giant corporations, Nike, Verizon, Jaguar, these kind of companies, Armani, they hear about it. They want to sponsor us. And, we start living in the lap of luxury, and we do an exit. Doing an exit is the Israeli equivalent of the American dream. And so if you make it big, that means you did an exit.
Okay, interesting.
And I'm saying the Untranslatable podcast is going to cause me to do an exit after this
there
episode
we go.
drops.
For sure.
Next episode, it's just gonna be all ham horns for an hour and a half. I'm gonna hire a guy actually to just hit the ham horn for an hour and a half. It's not even gonna be like a loop or anything.
There you go. There you go. I mean, since you'll be rich, you can make that exit and pay for that guy to personally hit the ham horn for sure. Nice. All right, Jared. Well, I'm gonna start us off with a Czech one, and I've decided I'm only gonna give you one Czech untranslatable, so I don't run out of Czech untranslatables before I leave this country.
I'm surprised you're still going, to be honest with you.
I'm hoping to write a book on Czech idioms because there are no books on Czech idioms. I've looked everywhere and can't find them. So to any of our listeners out there,
from?
The interwebs, my dude.
The interwebs is the new book. Is the book of the 20. It's one giant book.
Okay,
you
well,
just have to
I'm
go
sorry.
To the right chapter.
I'm sorry. I'm very old-fashioned, and I prefer having like a piece of paper in front of me that I can turn the pages.
I'll allow you to write a book because we'll get the Untranslatable podcast somewhere in there. Somewhere.
There we go. Perfect. We'll make up some Czech phrases that somehow have to do with the Untranslatable podcast. All right. Well, Jared, here we go. It is vstřít ze někam.
Say that again.
I don't pronounce the R properly, but it's vstřít ze někam, which means to rub yourself in somewhere and know it's not dirty like you think it is.
To blend in.
Nope.
To
well, I'd give you like a quarter ham horn on that one, maybe.
Squeak. Since I keep forgetting to actually put that into my soundboard, I just decided to go a cappella.
There you go. Nice.
I don't know. What is it?
It means to crash a party or to go somewhere where you're not invited and try to find your way in.
Okay. So it's blending in, but not the blending in I was thinking of.
Right. That's why I say it's kind of like a quarter.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. My buddy Brad is actually about to do that. A Nick'em. He's going to Tennessee, I believe, and
nice.
He's going to some wedding that he is not invited to, I think he knows the people or something. I don't know. I don't know why I'm telling other people's stories.
Right. These are about our stories, Jared.
Fuck you, Brad. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm feeling very aggressive.
That's why I tried to send you calming bossa nova music for the song of the pod. I just had.
Yes, you did send me that, and I was like, where's this? Why are you sending me this? Where is this coming from? We're not doing Norwegian bossa nova. And it's the funny thing is, I have plenty of Song of the Pod ideas. It's just they're all like I feel like they're too weird, or it's like nobody wants to listen to this. It's like no one's gonna like this except for me. But I feel like that's also what this is for. I mean, you too, obviously, but
no, it's all about you, Jared. It's all good.
At least kinda.
So what's your next?
Oh, right, it's my turn. I was waiting for you to say something. I was like, oh no, that's me. That's me. My next one is Armenian, and it's Hame Hanel or Haim Hanel, and it means to take the taste out.
To take the taste out. You're gonna have to give me an example. Or is that too obvious?
No, I can give you an example. So, for example, we're here doing this podcast, and you start to say some offensive things, and you're like, we're talking, and I'm like, yeah, well, my mom's, she told me once, and you're like, your mom's stupid. You're like, well, hey, I mean, you're like, your mom's ugly. And I was like, careful, Chad, you're starting to take the taste out.
Okay, so like you're about to cross the line?
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, all right. I like that one, to take the taste
Or
out.
there is also a very popular American idiom a Southern American idiom that has a similar meaning, and that's slipping on gator piss. That's what we tend to say in America, but
in the South.
Some people say to take the taste out in Armenia.
There you go. Well, Jared, I have two Dutch ones for you, and this one is met de deur in huis vallen.
Well, with the something in house fallen.
Deur is like Tür.
Okay. So you fall with the house falls down with the door. To fall.
I think when you fall in the house with the door.
Fall in the house.
Literally with the door in house to fall.
Right.
If you were to translate it.
Right. That's okay. That's why I could. So I did figure that out. I just didn't know how to say that like a human. Mm-hmm. But I guess that's because there isn't really a way to. Does that have anything to do with being sloppy drunk or something?
I wish, but no.
Okay. I don't know. It's hard for me to comprehend such a sloppy sentence.
All right, Jared, I'll give you one. So you're trying to explain something to me, and you're giving me a really long explanation, and I say, just fall in the house with the door already.
Oh, just get to the point?
Hit that ham horn, my dude, for sure. Yeah, to get straight to the point. Met de deur in huis vallen.
Met de deur in huis vallen.
It's probably not proper pronunciation, but I'm giving it my all here.
That's just Chad and his laid-back vibes. Now that we've commented on that shirt, every time I see you wear that shirt, I just look at that like multiple times, and now I finally have now I can finally say it, and people know what I'm talking about. Because
I'm gonna wear it backwards next week.
Please,
so you can see the back.
There was a meme. Speaking of memes, meme news. There's a meme of a guy. This old guy wearing a tank top backwards, and so it had like just the middle part.
Oh, nice!
And it's like when you fall asleep in your tank top. And,
yeah.
And he has his tank top on backwards. My second one is, my last one is also Armenian. And Armenian is an odd language. I know nothing about Armenia, except there was genocide there that the Turkish had something to do with.
Yep.
But other than that, and apparently what I've also learned from my deep dives into the world of untranslatables is that they like mountains a lot. That has nothing to do with this untranslatable.
Okay. Interesting.
But they do talk about mountains a lot. I don't know why I'm giving this a little Armenia lesson.
Interesting fun fact. Nothing wrong with that.
Quirky. Kati Tsak Chunes.
I like how you said that with gusto. I like that.
Half of the battle is confidence.
True.
And I could, no, I'm gonna assume most of our listeners don't know any Armenian, so for them that sounded like I'm some sort of professional. That could have been straight from the translator. You don't have a nose hole.
You don't have a nose hole. I'll take a stab at it. Is it like you don't have common sense? Ooh, really?
I'm going to give that one to you, yeah.
Okay.
You say this to people who are oblivious or don't know what appropriate behavior is in a particular situation. For example, if you cooked a meat dish at your for your vegan friend, you have no nose hole. So I'm going to give that
nose
to
holes,
you.
people. All right, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, I got a good one for you, Jared. This one's also Dutch, so yeah. So good work. So this one is one moment. I wanna hear it one more time so I can get the Dutch pronunciation right. Alsof een engeltje over je tong piest.
Ooh, came at me quick there. You kind of threw me off. Okay, that's a long one.
I'll say it slow for you. Alsof een engeltje over je tong piest.
It's as if you're like a something animal.
As
I heard
if
animal.
an angel, engeltje, I think that's how they say it.
Oh, I thought it was like engatia, like some sort of skinny animal or something.
I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but yes. It's as if an angel peed on your tongue.
Oh. Sounds like a Friday night for me.
Slipping on gator piss.
I'm going to say that it means something tastes really good.
Hit that ham horn, dude.
Ooh.
Yes, it means someone who is really enjoying their meal.
Okay. Kind of like you put your foot into it. A lot of Southern comparisons here
Yeah,
to, staples in Southern households.
most definitely.
Okay. Like that it's so funny that that's like a compliment where it's like if you hear that at a dinner table it's like thanks. That sounds like what the rednecks of Dutch people would say.
Right.
It tastes like okay, I'm done. This is a bad idea.
Fair enough. Don't want to offend our Dutch listeners out there.
I see
I'm
this
sure
going
we're
down a bad road.
Right. We're already offending them with our horrible Dutch pronunciation anyways, but yeah. Well, Jared, speaking of, not always having the best language skills, unfortunately, I feel like American foreign language instruction is not always the greatest, especially in high schools. If the high schools even have foreign language instruction at all.
I agree. As I've mentioned before, I took French from about like first or second grade all the way up until I graduated from high school. And I never really got anywhere close to proficient at it. And
why do you think that is?
I don't think it was really the focus. Like, I don't think that was ever really anyone's focus up until I moved to France. France. Maybe
I
up
was about
until
to say,
I moved
what?
to Germany. Then maybe there was a little bit more focus on it being a speakable thing, but I think it was still mostly taught like an American class. I think maybe one thing that helped was one that I was in a higher level, even though sometimes I felt like I didn't even belong there. And two, the teacher was also French when I was in Germany, so I think that helped a lot too.
Could you give our listeners a little perspective and kind of explain what you mean by it was taught in like an American language class way?
At least for me, it always seemed like the focuses were just on. It was very heavily grammar focused.
Mm-hmm.
The classes were like, and the thing is, I don't fully remember how this even went, but I know that a lot, almost I would say the majority of it was taught in English. But as someone that hasn't been in a language class like that in such a long time, I don't even fully remember what that is like, to be honest with you. But that also, I think, speaks to the fact that I don't really remember much from my early language classes, Like, I think that's not helping the case for American high schools that I don't remember, especially since I think I'm a pretty good language learner.
I would say so.
And I'd say also it was taught almost kind of like a math class or something like that, where it's like the way that you were assessed on how good you were wasn't based off of how good you could speak, but it was about your
grammar knowledge.
Your grammar
right?
knowledge, which really just more comes down to memory rather than being able to apply the language, comprehending what you're actually saying, and how to
Right.
actually use it. It's just like, no, I know that if I see this word before this word, it means that you have to use this word in this way. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't
Exactly.
actually mean you know what you're saying.
For sure. And I feel like sadly a lot of language instruction is heavily based on what you're required to test them on, right? So if you have to give them grammar tests for if it's a state language benchmark or it's just your school's benchmark, then yeah, you're going to teach the class unfortunately in English and not in what we call in the language second language acquisition field the target language or the foreign language you're learning.
Second language acquisition field. It makes it sound like you carry a gun to work.
That's right.
Well, if you're in America, maybe you will
My
soon.
gun's filled. Right, exactly. I was just gonna say my gun's filled with all sorts of random German knowledge or English knowledge, ESL knowledge. But yeah, I agree with you. I was very fortunate in that I think I had a really good German teacher in high school. I was also really motivated and passionate about it, so I'm probably a bad example of
Right.
typical American foreign language instruction. Mm-hmm.
Do you think? I was going to ask you about that because you also started your German learning in high school, right?
Yes.
And in American high school, but you somehow managed to come out the other end as someone that, or at least other end as into college, as someone that was actually pretty proficient, and that was one of the few people that I think was actually properly placed in the advanced field. For example, there were people that were in like the advanced class. There were people like in like the 301 class with you that I was way better than. And like I remember starting at 201 and never getting lower than like 90 something on a test. And even I was like, I don't need to, like, this is point. Why am I here? And it's like,
Right.
And then seeing people like struggle in the higher classes. What was it about you in high school why do you think you somehow managed to be better off than I would assume most of the other people in your high school?
I think it boils down to a couple of things. One, as I mentioned, was just motivation. I was highly motivated to learn German. I had kind of a family connection to Germany. Also dated a couple German girls in high school, which I'd be lying if I didn't say that wasn't a big help.
Yeah. Did you know you
learned
wanted
a
to
lot.
be a teacher at that point?
I mean, the thought had definitely crossed my mind.
But you
for
weren't like
sure.
working for that. You're like, oh, I need to get
No.
this. So when I'm a teacher, I'm ready to go.
No, for me, it was I just wanted to be able to go to Germany and be able to have really meaningful, deep conversations with people, get to know them, be able to understand them. And what really motivated me was the first time I was in Germany, I wanted to get to know my relatives, and I wasn't able to because they spoke German. My dad was too busy talking to my uncle, having a great time, which I understand. But as a 14-year-old, it really pissed me off because I wanted to get to know them. And, it's really difficult to, one, translate a conversation in real time, let alone have a good conversation with someone while trying to explain everything to your 14-year-old son and still be a part of the conversation, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to do that.
So I kind of, exactly. So I kind of held on to this feeling of frustration and turned it into motivation.
Wow.
Basically, I remember how I don't really want to say isolated I felt because I was with my mom and my sister, so it wasn't like I was just sitting there by myself.
But like the
with
pain
German
of
all
not
around me.
being able to understand what people are saying right in front of you.
Right, and the pain of not being able to communicate basic things, and so that really, really motivated me. And so for me, there were a lot of personal reasons to learn the language, whereas I think most high school students, they take a language because it's a requirement either to graduate or, things like that. And I think most kids, unless they have a teacher that can really like bring the passion of the language and the culture in the classroom, the kids will never become proficient in a language.
Oh, yeah. And you mentioned something about Americans only taking it because it's a requirement. I have a quick little stat I want to throw out there for you. And this is from American Council for International Education.
Okay.
Throughout all 50 states in the District of Columbia, 20% of K through 12 students are enrolled in foreign language classes, according to a 2017 study from the blah, 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 blah. New Jersey has the most students studying a language. That's 51%. That's the most out of any state. And followed by D.C., which is 47%, Wisconsin, 36%. By the way, not only are those the top three, but there's also significant percentage gaps between those three. Like the third place is 36, and the first place is 51. That's a pretty big gap. And the vast majority of states have less than 25% participation, with only 9% of students studying a foreign language in New Mexico, Arizona, and Arkansas.
Oh, wow. Dare I ask, where does Michigan place on this?
I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's all good. We'll just have to wonder
I didn't
forever.
even think about that.
But yeah. Well, see, I think the other issue, though, too, with foreign language instruction in the United States is, one, I don't think it's very valued by administrators and by parents unless the parents are either speak another language or...
But in a lot of those situations, I think parents also put it on themselves to be like, if I want, like, for example, say you live in California and one parent's American and one's Mexican or something like that. I mean, you don't have to live in California. I guess that could be anywhere. I don't know. But say that's the case, and you like, I want to make sure my kid also speaks Spanish. You're going to be screwing yourself if you never speak Spanish at home, but you put them in Spanish class. I don't think that's going to cut it.
Oh, I don't either. 100%.
And so, I don't know. I don't know what my point was there.
Well, I think your point was that if you want to raise your children to be bilingually and you have the opportunity to, as having a parent who's a Spanish speaker and an English speaker, you need to do it at home. You can't just send your kids to school, right? I think that's where you're going with
the
that.
School is not like the school is just not going to cut it. It's impossible.
Well, exactly. And I have to say, I hate admitting this as a language teacher and as a very passionate language learner, but the majority of the languages that I have learned, it's been in real life situations, not inside the classroom.
Yeah.
I think the classroom, right? I would say the classroom gives students a great opportunity to become exposed to the language, develop very basic skills and a foundation, but it's not enough to get them to be fluent in a language.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. And it's because it's like learning how to ride a bike or drive manual. Is that you don't learn by someone teaching you. You learn by consistent use of it.
Exactly. That's actually a really great comparison.
Oh, thank you. Riding bikes and driving manual, two things I'm very good at.
Right. I gotta say you're pretty good at languages too.
I think so. I'm actually after doing some research for this episode, it made me really start thinking like I need to put my language to use. Like it just got me really nervous about losing it because there are a lot of articles that talked about how America is putting themselves at like a serious disadvantage socially, economically, and just like in the global market wise by just not focusing on that because most foreign countries at least require one, if not two languages.
Right.
And we're just slowly, this is just part of the reason America being such a reactionary country that we're slowly falling out of favor as the quote unquote, one of the quote unquote superpowers. And just reading all this stuff about how language is so underappreciated, like it just made me think, man, I'm like really lucky to have that. And it made me real nervous that I actually, while I was reading this yesterday, I got one of my German books and put them back next to my bed. Like, I need to keep this shit up.
Yes,
like,
nice,
this is terrifying me. I can't lose
Which
this.
German books, if you don't mind me asking?
It was just a book of short stories that I actually found at some, like, one of those give a book, take a book things in Washington, D.C.
cool.
a couple months ago.
Okay. Nice.
And it was actually, it's just a short stories are actually by some British dudes. They're just translated to German. But they're like a couple pages long. So I liked, you can read like one before you go to bed or something like that. Because I am genuinely scared that I'm going to lose that German. I don't want that to happen. And this really put a stinker behind my butt. Do people say that?
I would say it lit a fire under
There we
your
go.
ass.
There we
But
go.
that's just what I would say. A little American,
entry.
untranslatable for you. I got a question for you. Do you know what we call it in the field of second language acquisition when you forget your language skills or you lose those language abilities?
Oh, a shame. I don't know. What do they call it?
Language attrition.
Oh, okay. Oh man, I never want to. I don't want to be a statistic.
Right? You won't be. Not with this untranslatable podcast.
Yeah,
You won't.
I'm not. Because of the Untranslatable podcast, I'm no longer a statistic. I'm a phenomena.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I think another issue with language learning in American high schools or the way they teach foreign languages is they don't always make it super relatable and practical for their own students' lives.
Right.
Right? Like you said, when you were learning French, a lot of it was grammar. I did get some German grammar, but I was lucky that my German teacher also tried to have us communicate, and she did a lot of the class in German, which was really
In
nice.
high school specifically, I took German because after I got back from Germany, I took German. And it was a freaking joke in high school. Like,
Why? Just too easy? Or
it was too easy. I mean, I was far above that. But also, I mean, he was our Mr. Ray. He was our chemistry/German teacher, and it felt like I was in a chemistry class, yet he was teaching German. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, it was essentially all taught in English, and he was just like lecturing grammar to us. And
that's
and
awful.
and it was grammar that either I'm not gonna actually. Some of it I wasn't like, it was not new to me, but I was like, I don't really fully know like the science behind this because I was just trying to figure out how to talk. But also a lot of
Right.
it was simple, and I was like, this is ridiculous. That this is
At the same time, you don't need that much grammar knowledge, in my opinion, to really be a fairly proficient speaker. If you want to be a German teacher, then yeah, it's helpful to have that knowledge so you can explain that when students ask. But to lecture students about grammar for hours on end, I think is an uphill
seems like a
battle
waste of time.
that's pointless. Oh, for sure, 100%.
it kind of and it really put a perspective on it, having learned being submerged. We're like coming back to this. We're like, this is fucking useless. It's like who and like 16-year-old me can't really say anything, but I'm just like, this is not how this works. Like
No,
put
that's-
so much into more perspective. All that French I had taken beforehand, I was like, that's why I don't know any French, because this is how it was taught like my chemistry class.
Right. And that's why I have to give our German department at Albion College a lot of credit. Because I think, yeah, they did some grammar instruction, but a lot of it was very communicative language teaching.
We also had the benefit of the lower level German teacher was Perry Meyer's wife, who was also Susanna,
Susanna,
who was German. So
Yep.
I think it helped having the lower level classes taught by someone that was actually German, because it was easier for her and more natural for her to speak German to the students. And then, once you're in the higher classes where Perry was teaching like the 3 and 4 stuff, 3 and 4 level stuff, then it was obvious that you should just be speaking German. But
Well, it was funny. I remember talking to a friend of mine in graduate school when I was doing my master's in TESOL. And I had told
What's
them
TESOL?
that TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. Okay. TESOL, my English teaching degree. And or my ESL teaching degree, I guess. But I remember telling a graduate colleague of mine that when I graduated undergrad, you probably didn't feel this way, but I felt like I could write a better essay in German than I could in English because of all the research papers
Probably.
and different things that I had to write in German versus in English. And I actually took a look at my old laptop, and like over 60% of the stuff that I had written in undergrad was in German.
yeah, I had a lot of laser journals. Remember those? I
Yep.
actually just went through and deleted a lot of stuff recently, and it was a lot of German stuff. I was like, damn, because we had to essentially write something at least once a week, if not more than that, like some
Right.
sort of at least page situation of something. But do you think that was an anomaly? I mean, obviously it would be in high school, but in a college level?
Maybe not in college level. But I think the other issue too is that in high school, like you've mentioned, so much emphasis is put on grammar. I think some teachers are starting to come more around to the idea of the communicative approach, which is teaching the language in the target language, very, very small amount of grammar instruction, and trying to give your students the skills and the language to just communicate, which, if we're being real, what good does it do me if I take 4 years of French, I go to Paris and I might understand bits and pieces, but I can't even order a damn crepe or a baguette.
Right, exactly. But you can figure out the participle. That's always my go-to is participle
Exactly.
because I'm terrible at grammar. So that's just my go-to grammar word. What do you think that there is a lack of? This is a leading question. Once again, I would not recommend doing this as a lawyer, but I'm going to do it. Do you think that there is a lack of qualified teachers out there? And I feel like because a lot of the American language teachers are taught the way that they're teaching, not obviously, but a lot of them are. They also are coming out of programs, or maybe because they're more interested in the language, they understand the grammar of it. They've gotten that part down, but they themselves can't really have a conversation in it either. Does that happen?
So, well,
Maybe it doesn't happen.
so this is quite a question, Jared. So,
Chad, put your colleagues on
qualified-
blast.
well, so, I mean, to me, it depends on how you define qualified. I think for a lot of schools and a lot of places, at least I know, if you were to get like a teaching certification in a foreign language, different languages have different proficiency levels. So, for example, I'm pretty sure for German, French, and Spanish, you need. So there's also this organization called ACTFL, the American Council of Teaching Foreign Languages, ACTFL. Okay, and they have a proficiency scale. So they have like a beginner is what we call novice. Like a true beginner would be a novice low. Then you have novice mid, novice high. Then you have intermediate low, mid, and high. And then you have advanced low, mid, and high. And then you have what's called superior, and above superior is distinguished. And some native speakers aren't
Like the
even
black belt
distinguished.
of
Yeah, for sure. It is. It is. And so I know for German, French, and Spanish, I'm almost positive that to get certified as a language teacher, you have to be in an advanced low. An advanced low generally means you can speak about abstract concepts. You can use hypotheticals like would, should, or could. I guess should's not a good example, but would or could, or would have. If I had $1 million, I would buy.
So to be a teacher, what
whatever.
you're saying is you at least have to be conversational.
For German, French, and Spanish, yes. However, for Japanese and Mandarin, I'm pretty sure it's intermediate mid or intermediate high, which I would say intermediate is you're conversational, but you don't have a full grasp maybe of all of the little subtleties of the language. You probably make more mistakes when you speak the language.
It's funny that you say that. I have another little ditty here that I can read you. Another challenge emerges. We're looking at the languages these students are learning too. In 2013, roughly 198,000 U.S. college students were taking a French course. Just 64, on the other hand, were studying Bengali. Yet globally, 193 million people speak Bengali, while 75 million speak French. In fact, Arne Duncan, the U.S. Education Secretary, noted back in 2010 that the vast majority, 95%, of all language enrollments were in European language. This is just one indicator demonstrating the shortcomings, inequalities in language education today. So I guess that also goes to it, where it's like, if you want to learn some of these more abstract to us American or languages, then you're also going to have to be able to or be willing to accept essentially a lower level of education, because that's the best we can offer you.
Exactly. And sadly I don't think there's a push in the American education system to try to bridge that gap between, why don't we have more Bengali language opportunities for students, or Hindi, or, now they're starting
Arabic,
to do a
which is
lot more
another giant
Mandarin.
language.
Oh, for sure.
But
well, I will tell you with Arabic, it's a little more difficult because of all of the different Arabic dialects.
right.
And there's technically, from what I've been told, there's no like standard Arabic. What most places will teach you is Egyptian Arabic.
Interesting.
Yes.
So because so many different countries speak it across different continents, there's like they're all based off of the same language, but then it's just all different, different dialects of. For example, I think recently I gave an Untranslatable that was some language, but it was essentially just a variation of Arabic.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But I think sadly in the
Kinda like
Western
Swahili
world,
or something like that.
right. Well, in the Western world, I'm talking the United States, we tend to be more Eurocentric, where we focus on European languages. Where really the irony is, if you go to France or Germany, maybe Spain, I haven't heard as many positive things about English speakers in Spain, but I do know at least if you're in Germany or Austria, people speak really good English. So it's not even like really you need to learn the language if you were to travel there. Whereas maybe some of these other countries, I don't know how good their English instruction is. It may be more important to learn some of these other, non-European languages.
Well, also I mentioned that most other countries outside the U.S. require languages. In the EU, there's a national requirement of at least one other language, but most countries have requirements above that of two. Not most. I say most. Some countries have requirements above that of two. Not most, but some do.
I think another reason why American foreign language instruction is lacking and also doesn't get the thorough support it deserves is also because, in theory, if you're not going to travel or do international business, sadly, you may not need to learn another language. If you stay in the United States your entire life, which all of our listeners out there, I highly encourage you to get out there and travel because the world is an amazing place. But if I were to stay in the United States my entire life, maybe it's not worth it for me to learn a language.
I would argue that it's good. Like it's a good learning tool just for cognitive abilities as well, though. Like just for your ability
100%.
to learn other things and grasp ideas, it's useful. Granted, that's a hard thing to sell when a lot of schools are based off of test scores. Like, it's hard to sell cognitive ability and problem-solving abilities. It's like, yeah, but that's not something we can figure out off of a test where you circle a couple O's,
And there is a lot of research out there that backs up there's a lot of positive cognitive benefits to language learning. I also read somewhere that language learning reduces the risk of Alzheimer's, which I found really interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it also allows you a very rare opportunity to view the world in different perspectives, which I think also in turn makes you a more well-rounded person. But I think sadly a lot of Americans, the stereotype around the world is Americans don't care about learning foreign languages. Whether it's our education system or our students, I don't really know which it is or if it's both. But I think that if people really understood how powerful and how much learning a language can change your life for the better, I think more people would be more interested in it.
I think America's screwed. I don't think there is any turning back at this point. I think what we're witnessing right now is America losing its place in the world. Not that we're gonna be not that we're turning into a third world country, but we're witnessing us lose that whole, for example, Made in America used to have such a great meaning to it that I think we're losing a lot of that, and we're losing a lot of our I don't know what the word is because I don't want to.
Our standing.
Yeah, okay. Because I don't want to say dominance because that's not what I mean. That sounds aggressive.
No. I think you mean our international standing, just how we are perceived by other nations.
Believe it or not, English is, there's all the political stuff that I'm not going to get into. But even just believe it or not, English is, we still use it, but it's not. We're not relying on English like we used to. It's it turns out that, one of the biggest. This is a personal example. One of the biggest battery companies is in China. We don't need to really know English because 99% of our business is done with people that speak Mandarin.
Right. I also think, though, too, that, like you mentioned, the fact that a lot of the American education systems are based off of test scores and placement tests and standardized statewide tests. It doesn't do our students any good. I think we overtest children in general in the United States. And I think it's just not a great way to really try to foster a lot of passion and encouragement for learning languages if you just know I'm going to be tested all the time. I need to learn this stuff for the test, but maybe I'd rather learn how to be able to properly speak this language.
So let me ask you this. I saw you've taught, have you taught high school aged Americans?
Uh-huh.
You've taught high school aged Americans and you've taught high school aged Czech people. Do you notice a higher caliber of student coming out of the Czech Republic than America?
Well, first off, I have to preface this by saying I think now population-wise, I've taught more Czech students because I'm teaching at a technical school, which is like high school age students. Whereas for my German teaching, I was teaching students like at an after school, like extracurricular German class.
But you've also done
so it was a different environment.
Community college, which is essentially high school.
Yes. Oh God, you went there. And well, this one actually, it's not a community college anymore. It's actually a 4-year college.
Okay.
But anyways,
Good for them.
I would say, right, for sure. But I would say that the most important thing that I've seen the difference with Czech students versus American students is it seems that a lot of the students here in the Czech Republic tend to be a little bit more mature and a little bit more independent with I can trust them to, I'm not thinking of any good examples. I'm drawing a blank right now, but like, I don't know. I just, with American students, it's hard to say because the kids I taught they were there because they wanted to be, either their parents wanted them to be there or they wanted to be there. And so I had a really good experience
it was
with them.
a more focused group of people that were there for
Correct.
a purpose rather than just like, oh, well,
Correct.
it's third period, time to go to German because I had to choose something.
Exactly. And I also think too that it's hard to compare because it's a completely different environment. I think that in the Czech Republic, they need to learn English for other reasons than why an American would learn a foreign language, right?
Why do they need to learn it?
Why do the Czechs need to learn English? Yeah. If they want to ever work outside of the Czech Republic or do any business with any other countries.
And for us Americans, it's just for the hell of it kind of thing?
Sadly, I think, yes. I think I don't know how we could do this, but I think we need a cultural shift of people realizing the importance and the benefits of a foreign language that gives you a more deeper meaning than just we're doing it for the hell of it.
Right.
I think doing it for the hell of it might be great to get your feet wet and get started, but learning languages is a lot of work. And if I'm just doing it for the hell of it, when the what's the saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, or what's, what I mean?
Yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, won't be fooled again.
Right. But yeah, so for me, I think it just really depends on how you see yourself using this language in your life, which is why when I taught those German classes, I would always give a survey after the first class and ask the students, why are you learning German and what do you want to do with it? Because if you're learning German because your mom or your dad is sending you to class, all they really care about, all they really care about is that their kids know a couple vocab words. If you're learning German because you might want to take a trip to Germany, you need to know some basic survival German, right? Like, I don't know, ich möchte, wo ist die Toilette? Just very basic German things, right?
Mluvite anglicky. I mean, that's not German.
Right. That's not German, but that would be useful in the Czech Republic if you're not learning Czech.
I was bored. No, I'm kidding.
We'll have to change that. I see how it is, Jerry. But yeah, so I would just say those are just some big things though that make a difference between the two.
Yeah. No. Okay. Because I asked that not really feeling like that's the case, not feeling like Americans are at some sort of, I mean, besides for the language thing, I take that back. Maybe they are. But I was like, I don't get the sense that America is putting out workers that are less prepared than other countries, theoretically speaking.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that also, though, has to do with our higher education system, so colleges and universities.
Right.
Because I don't know what the statistics are, but I highly doubt we have. I would guess that American high schools ranked globally are probably below the top 20.
Probably.
I would
Probably.
say. But I'm not 100% sure. So don't quote me on that. But I think higher education in America is actually fairly good. I mean, that's why you have a lot of international students coming to the States for college or to go to a university.
Right. Rich ones. Filthy rich ones that can pay the crazy prices you have to pay. But yeah, no, that's fair. It's a good point, Chad. Yeah, all this stuff is making me feel like I'm wasting my time. And it's like you need to get back on that language learning horse and make sure you're sharp.
Right.
Did you know that less than 1% of adults today are proficient in a foreign language that they studied in a U.S. classroom? That's noteworthy considering that in 2008, almost all high schools in the country, 93%, offered foreign language classes, according to a national survey.
Well, once again, that goes back to my point about the language not having any ties or connections to their everyday life, right? So if you don't have a family member who speaks the language, you don't have any friends to speak the language with, you'll take your 4 years of Spanish or French or Mandarin or whatever, and then once you've graduated from high school, you never do anything with the language again, which I think is such a shame, because I think we would have better relations with other people in other countries if Americans were more open and willing to learn foreign languages and also continue the learning process after they graduate. I think sadly, a lot of high school students, I think once they graduate high school, they're like, okay, I'm done with, if they don't go on to college, they're like, okay, I'm done with learning, you know? And I think life is a process where you need to be learning all the time, regardless if it's foreign language learning for your job, just reading to keep your mind sharp, whatever.
I feel you on that. Yeah. I'm not good at that either. And that's why, I mean, I'm terrified though. So I guess that helps. At least I have that where it's like, I don't want to lose it, but I'm not really good at keeping up with my German. And that's constantly in the back of my head where it's like, yeah. And I could very easily have some attrition issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll start sending you lots of German memes. German memes will be coming your way. Yeah. Keep your German language skills sharp.
Your girlfriend will be very offended to find out that she might not get any postcards or care packages, but I get one bi-weekly.
Right. Don't tell her our little secret.
Chad's going broke for sure. Care packages.
Right. Oh man. But I just want to recap a couple things that I think we have mentioned and we should mention to any of our listeners out there involved in the U.S. education system, especially in high schools, either taking or teaching a foreign language. I think we need to make the languages more communicatively taught. So less time and emphasis on grammar, especially not in English. I think it's also crucial to give students kind of a connection or a tie with this language and their own personal lives and their interests. Is there anything else you would like to give our listeners out there, Jared?
I don't think there's anything you can do. I think we're screwed. I'm not even kidding. I think that we've like it just seems like it would take so much change in our mentality for us to actually. Do you think that? I mean, obviously it would have to happen more locally or something, but I mean, I'll also put it this way: all you as the teacher can really focus on are the students in front of you too. So it's like you can talk about how doomed the entire system is, but like all you can focus on is the students that are in front of you.
And honestly, when I was a German teacher and an ESL teacher back in the States, for me, if I could impact one or two students, I was happy.
Yeah.
Because you can't make all your students happy. You can't get them all interested. Obviously, in an ideal world, if I had a class of 25 students, I'd love to have all 25 of them be passionate and motivated about learning the language, but that's just not a realistic environment at all whatsoever. But I think my outlook is a little bit more optimistic than you. Maybe one, because I'm a language teacher, and I think if I had your view, I probably would quit my career as a language teacher, maybe. But I think you're right. It is a big problem, and there are a lot of changes that need to be made. But I think if enough teachers can impact those few students and make those little small changes, there might be a glimpse of hope. Maybe.
And maybe once, maybe we as Americans are more reactionary, but maybe once that reaction happens, we start realizing that, even like in business, for example, maybe you start realizing that I think a language course should be more of a requirement if you're going to take some sort of business program at college. So maybe you should also be prepared for that language course in high school. So I think even though it could be a reactionary thing, maybe once it starts to become a little bit more aware to us that that's necessary, maybe it will trickle down from college.
I have two things to add. One, I think if you start learning a language in college, it's too late. I don't want to discourage anyone.
Give up.
From
Kill
learning.
yourself.
I don't want to discourage anyone from taking a language in
Close the
college.
book.
I think that's great. But realistically speaking, I think we honestly need to start kids in kindergarten or middle school at the latest with
I'm with you on
languages
that.
because it's just high school is already late, college is even later, especially if depending on the field you want to work in, you may not have the time, the money, or the opportunities to go abroad and really develop a good proficiency with the language, which means you've taken all these college courses, you spent all this money and time, and then you get a job, and then your language skills might not be nearly proficient enough.
Right.
And then you have to learn all that on your own.
And by the time you're in high school, unless you really want to take a language, it's kind of like a second thought. It's not like, well, I've been taking French for 6 years, so I'm going to keep doing that. It's more like I want to continue playing my tuba, or I can take a language course. Which one am I going to take is sometimes how it goes. And it's like that in itself is part of the problem, where it's like I don't even think it should be an option. It should be like this seems like an obvious important thing to learn to me.
Oh, for sure. I agree. So hopefully there will be a change sometime in the near future. You never know. But I also do have to really commend all of the language teachers who are really trying to fight the good fight in the United States and push this agenda of a more global and open world where students are able to learn languages and have a passion for it.
Also, one thing I'll say, I always do this after your beautiful conclusions. I'm like, I'm not done. I think there is a little thing that helps English speakers outside of America is that almost every other country naturally has way more American/English, British, whatever the English input is. And it's way easier for that to be available than it is for that stuff to be, especially not only that stuff, but that stuff that's also entertaining and part of pop culture.
Right. I agree. Actually, fun fact, did you know that in the Netherlands, I have been told by a few Czech people here, in the Netherlands, all of the movies, they don't actually dub. They just put either Dutch subtitles or English subtitles,
Right.
which is a big reason why a lot of Dutch people speak such great English, is because they're watching hundreds of thousands of hours of movies
And they have no choice
in
but
English.
to at least listen to listen to it in English.
Because I've been told by a few of my colleagues here in the Czech Republic, they really wish they had more opportunities to watch movies in English and not be dubbed over in Czech.
Yeah. Is there stuff you can give them? It's hard too because you can't give them like DVDs.
Right, because of the country codes. So I mean, really, well, the beauty of the internet is you know, if it's not restricted or the IP address doesn't work, you can watch a lot of movies online. And I've found out that in the Czech Republic, the rules about downloading from the internet are a lot less strict than the United States. Basically, their rules are, at least from what some of my students have told me, is that if it's up on the internet, you are free to download it. However, you're not free to upload everything
Wow.
you have. So yeah, so it's a completely different kind
are
of
you telling
mentality
me
here with the internet.
That because you're in the Czech Republic and we're doing a podcast, we could be playing all the music we want because it's like, hey, it's on the internet.
I'm not so sure
Should
about
I
that.
start saying
I'm
that
not
I'm
sure.
also in the Czech Republic? Stop saying I'm in Philadelphia all the time.
Sure. I'm not sure how that works. That's a great question. I'm not sure how all those laws work, but
Who knows?
That scared me a little bit. Not gonna lie,
That scared me
startled
too. It always comes in a little hot.
Right. It's a great song, though. Speaking of songs, I think we should move on to our song of the pod. What do you think?
I think so.
So, as I mentioned earlier this episode, I just had a weird feeling that Jared was a little uptight today, a little angry. So I tried to send him some calming music. And first, I did send him some Norwegian bossa nova, which I really like, but that's okay. We can save it for another time.
The only reason I didn't want to choose that song is because I thought you just picked it out of nowhere. I was like, where'd you? That's why I asked you if you like. I was like, is there anything you can say about this song, or did you just like find some random foreign song?
Right.
Do you? I'm always shocked by the stuff you listen to.
I listen to. That's the beauty of having the two of us suggesting songs, because we do listen to completely different stuff.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But this week we're actually.
That sounds like something that would like be playing in like a cigar bar on a cruise ship or something like that.
Where do you think I spend my time on the weekends, Jared? I go to Prague and I go to these jazz cruise boats and just hang out, right? That's actually a traditional bossa song, but we'll talk about that later, because that's not our song of the pod. Our song of the pod for this episode is actually by an American artist.
However,
I believe he's from Hawaii.
He's from one of those
Jack Johnson
eating places for sure.
And the song is called Belle. And Jared, can you tell our audience what Belle means?
Like mon chéri, is that what it means essentially?
I mean, it means beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Belle. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so the reason why I picked this song was because it has let me count the languages here. I think there's 4 or 5.
And the song's only like a minute and a half long.
Yeah, but we have Spanish, I believe. Yeah, Spanish, French, and then also Italian.
Italian, but okay.
Italian, thank you, and English. So 4. Okay. So yes, so the whole song, it's only like a minute and a half long, I think, 1:43 to be exact, actually. But it has a great feel to it, great vibe to it.
Very Jack Johnson-y.
Says, yes, for sure.
Sounds like you should be running through a field somewhere,
or just sitting on like a porch with like hearing the waves crash along the shore.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like.
Yeah.
Like chilling in a hammock, for sure.
I can totally imagine waves like swooshing in the background.
Right. And so here he says, Oye linda, which means like, I don't know, like, hey, beautiful. Bella che fa, which is Italian. Bonita che tal. So beautiful, how are you? Just has a great melody. I just absolutely love this song. But it's cool because it has 4 different languages, and the song isn't even 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
And so Jared, if you were to take a stab at the meaning of this song, what do you think the song is about?
Ooh. I mean, he's clearly talking to some woman that he finds beautiful, asking if she will go on a date with him.
I think, okay. I mean, that's probably not... I mean, there's no wrong answers here.
Oh, really? Because that feels like a wrong answer.
I don't think so. The way I started my response definitely made it seem like one, so that's my fault. My bad, buddy. I would say, at least my interpretation of it is, I really like the line where he says, I don't understand French, so you'll have to speak to me some other way. And so he's speaking in all these languages, and I'm wondering if all these languages aren't sufficient enough to say what he wants to say, so she needs to speak to him in another way.
So is he saying, like, there aren't the right words for me to say what I want to say to you or something like that?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, this is all interpretation. So
this is why music is great.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it's really amazing. I can tell you as a guitarist, the guitar chords are really cool.
Okay.
They're very jazzy. I'm pretty sure the first chord is either a G major 6 or a G minor 6. So yeah, yeah, and it's just great. I love the accordion melody. I'm pretty sure that's accordion.
Is that it?
Play it again.
I don't know. A G minor 6. Okay, so this is G major. So that would be, so that's G minor. G minor 6. Is that it?
Sounds kind of right. Might be right. Yeah, maybe.
There you go.
Maybe.
There you go.
I'll have to look it up again because there was at some point I could actually play this one. But just like language learning, being able to speak a language is a skill, same as a musical instrument. And if you don't play it, you lose it. You get that. I've definitely gotten some guitar attrition over the years from all the music I used to be able to play. But anyways, check out our Song of the Pod on our Twitter page, Untranslatable1. Maybe I'll start to post these on Facebook as well.
Okay.
I think that might be good. So we'll post this one up on Facebook when this drops as well.
Don't hold your breath on that, people. Remember the Instagram debacle of a couple episodes ago?
That's true. That's true. That sounds like you're a history teacher. The Instagram debacle of episode 26.
Just in case, follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, because it will be there.
That's right. That's right.
At the same time every day or after every episode.
Exactly. So check that out, Bell by Jack Johnson. We hope you enjoy it. You're able to hear a couple different languages, so you get some input in a lot of the Romance languages. And if you have a lucky man or lady in your life, play this for them.
Just like
I'm sure it'll set the mood right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, Jared, speaking of learning foreign languages, I have been trying my best to learn as much Czech as I can while I'm here. So I want to give you a phrase I have now been using quite often, which is, well, I'll tell you the phrase in Czech, and then I want to see if you can guess it.
Okay.
A little extra untranslatable for the pod. So the phrase is, mluvím trochu česky. Mluvím trochu česky.
Well, Česky is Czech.
Yes.
Czech Republic or Czech?
Czech language.
Okay. How do you say Czech Republic?
I think it's just České republiky,
Okay.
but I might be wrong on that one. So don't hold me to that.
Mluvím trochu... I don't know.
Mluvím trochu česky.
I don't know.
I speak a little Czech.
Okay.
That's what that phrase means. I speak a little Czech.
I might have...
mluvím is speak.
I might have to replace...
Mluvite anglicky.
With mluvím trochu česky.
Mluvím trochu česky.
Okay.
That actually sounded more like a question. Maybe it would be more
Right,
like,
that's a good point.
Mluvím trochu česky. Mluvím trochu česky.
Okay.
So yes. So for our listeners out there who do speak a little bit of Czech, well, you probably already know this phrase, so I guess it's irrelevant. But for those of you who are learning Czech and are starting to feel more confident about your Czech abilities, you can toss out mluvím trochu česky the next time you're out and about speaking with some Czech people. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yes. So that brings us to our quote of the pod, and I wanted to find a good inspirational quote related to languages. And so I picked one from, I think, one of the best, Nelson Mandela. And the quote is, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart. And I find this very true. What do you think about it, Jared?
If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. So is that essentially saying if you tell them what they want to hear? I don't know if I fully understand that.
No. I think it's better said like if you talk to a man in a foreign language that he understands, it will go to his head or his brain. If you talk to him in his native language or his own language, it goes to his heart.
Yeah. There's definitely something, at least for me, as someone that is conversational in German, but by no means fluent, where
I'd say you're fluent.
There is a comfort to going back to, for example, say, going back to your native tongue and being like this understanding is stronger than just like I know the words you're saying kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's like an extra filter when it's coming in a foreign language, right? You got to really think about it. You have to process it. Exactly. Whereas if you hear something in your native language, it just goes straight to you just understand it immediately.
Right. I don't have to. Yeah, I'm not decoding it as I'm listening to you.
Exactly. So I think that's very true. So to all of our language learners out there, keep this in mind when you're talking to people while you're abroad or even in the States and someone talks to you. If you really want to appeal to their emotions or to their hearts, speak to them in their native language if you can.
Yes. I agree with that.
So I think it's a good quote. Very true, very practical, and let us know if you have any language quotes that you'd like to give us at our Twitter page, Untranslatable1. Please follow and subscribe. We'd love to have you take a look at some of our awesome clips and pictures on our Instagram page, Untranslatable Podcast. Check us out on Facebook, Untranslatable Podcast as well. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, your untranslatables, and any other things you want to share with us at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. We really thank you all for your support. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to talking with you next time.